Hello to everyone. I am Salvo, come from Italy, and I work here at STRV as a backend engineer. So let's start. Just before going through this presentation, I just want to have to ask you one simple question. How many backend engineers there are in the audience? Raise your hands up. Okay, nice, nice. This way you can go through the topic smoothly. Okay, so let's start. The topic will be server-side rendering and deployment strategy. I will show how here at STRV we approach this problem. So, I just don't want to jump directly, start to talk about server-side rendering because it will be just an overkill. I just want to make you a briefly introduction to universal app application, what they are, and why we arrived to implement server-side rendering. In the 2011, okay, one guy published one small article introducing a new architecture, a new JavaScript architecture, and he was aiming to replace, okay, the famous MVC pattern, model view controller, with a new pattern, JavaScript isomorphic architecture. But there was a big problem, two problems. The first one was that, is not working. Why? Okay, sorry, now it's working. So the first problem was the naming. Introducing this topic, talking about isomorphic architecture. The community was very confused about this name. What does really isomorphic means? Almost no one understand. It was very hard to understand. Only 1 year ago, this name was removed, okay, and we started to call isomorphic application like universal application. We will see in a few minutes what does mean. The second problem was that this is not working again. Okay. The server stack at the time, in the 2011, was very different, okay, from the browser stack. People were using to programming in JavaScript. The stack, the server stack was totally different. For example, how many of you in 2011 were using Node.js? Just one. How many of you are using Node.js today? Things changed. Okay, things changed. Probably the times people were using Java and other technology. So this turned up with one problem: slow adoption of this architecture. But just, I want to give you briefly an image of what the universal application are. Universal application means that we run the same code, okay, in the same code in the server and in the client. Basically, we write once, okay, the code. The same code is running both on the server and on the client. So just take the benefit that this approach have. First of all, CEO benefit, advantage. So what does it mean? That all the Google web crawlers, okay, can index our web page very easily, thanks to server-side rendering. Even though in the last 2 months, 3 months, things has changed, because the Google developer advocate, okay, Cullen, said that's not true. Our web crawler can start to index JavaScript content. But then 2 days after, one great and smart engineer from the Instagram teams said, that's not true, Google, please stop to talk, and said server-side rendering is really useful to index content for SEO purpose. The second reason is performance. With server-side rendering, you have super fast rendering of your page. Just it's very fast because as we will see, and as my colleague we will show you, the page will be directly rendered on the browser without calling every time the server. And third, cross-device support. Okay, even the device that are not using JavaScript, that are quite old, can benefit of that web application very easily. And last advantage, in the same code base, you will write less code. Okay, thanks to this approach, because we will use the same code in the client and in the server. Just a short statement. If there are questions, some things that you are not understand, please stop me and we will go through your question. Thank you. Okay, so let's get into server-side rendering. Here are the packages that we take from the NPM ecosystem. React, famous library from Facebook, React.router, one library that has not been developed just quite a little bit later of the development of React. Redux, okay, one library to maintain the state of store the state of your application, and last but not the least, Node.js. There is no need to in the talk about Node.js. So first things that server-side rendering does. Just take the just basically the render, okay, your content from the server side. What does it mean? Render. We will arrive very soon to this very important concept. This happens to the first request of your application. So when you run your www.strv.com, okay, for example, it happens that the server is it, okay, and the server-side rendering happens in the server for the first time. But you know, our application, okay, have some state. We need to have some state, like for example, some data that we need to fetch. So we need to store somewhere this state. This is where server-side rendering is great. Storing the initial state on the server and pass this state to the client. So just this is a list that I have summarized for you. What happens really when you does server-side rendering. So the store is created, okay. There is some action that is dispatched through Redux. Okay, if you know how Redux works, you can understand how dispatch works. Then we take this state from the store, and then we pass this state to the client to be used for the first request. So let's go to see our application work. So again, if there are questions about this part, please just stop me and we can talk about it. Okay, so let's start. This is our server file. The STRV we approach this problem using the very famous Node.js framework called Express. I think that every one of you know Express. There is no need to talk about it. So this is our middleware, okay. And this middleware is every time that we hit the server. It's executed every time, okay? And let's go from the top to the bottom to see what happens in the server. The first is a flag, okay? It's a flag, it's called development. It's set on Webpack. My colleague will show you then how works setting this kind of flag in the server. And this flag is just a Boolean flag, set to true or false, depending if you are in development mode or not. And this is basically called a method, called refresh, on this library, Webpack Isomorphic Tools. What is this library? This, I think, is one of the most library in this in the React ecosystem, because it allows you to take every assets, for example, image, CSS, SAS file, and so on, and require this file in your client code, okay? And then pass to the and then you can use this file very easily. This is just means please don't cache these assets every time that the server run update this file. In this case, when you are in development mode, you will not see the cached file there. So, but the very important part starts here. API client. Here we just wrap an API client that is basically a request, HTTP request inside. Then we create the history. History is another package that my colleague will show you. It's basically save all the routing history of your application. Okay, so for example, STRV.com/ that is goes to the history. Then STRV.com/about go to the history. So save all this history, and we choose to save the history in memory. Then pass this history inside the store, okay, and create the Redux store. And then we basically sync the history, okay, with the store. Then there is here an important method. It's called iterate on client. What basically does this method is to send, okay, to the client the string of our component. Here we have this method that is basically the secret of server-side rendering in React. It's called the React DOM.rendering to string. Here we pass the component called HTML. It is basically our application. Okay, you will see this component. It's super easy. You're inside that you will have just your code, like the meta tag, the body, and so on. And then you pass the store. That is the state of your application, and then of course all the assets like I don't know, image, CSS that you want to push there. And then if you go through these, we have disable server-side rendering flag. This is always, it's a boolean, so the queen set to true or false. If we want to turn on or turn off the server-side rendering. But everything happens here. This method is called the match. It comes from React.router API. This method receives our root of our application, okay, the entire list of root, the current location of our application, and the history. What basically does this method is very easy. It does just a comparison between the current location and all the roots. And it returns a callback with 3 parameters: error, redirect location, and render props. Error is it's quite self-descriptive. If it happens an error in our application, this error is reported, and we reported this error here. Okay, this will be undefined. It is will be error, equal to the error. We raise a 500 error, pass the message, and then again we call this just to have the response, just to give a feedback to the client that there has been an error, okay, and pass to the client to be rendering. Then the director relocation is parameter that is equal if you make some kind of redirection in your client. So we will raise an HTTP code 302 and then redirect the user, calling the famous method in Express res.redirect. But all the great things happen here. Load on server. What is load on server? This, if we go to the top of the file, it's here, okay. It's a method, it comes from Redux Connect. I will not go through this method, I will not talk about this method too much. It will be the topic, the next topic. But this method basically, okay, wait or delay the execution of our rendering of our component, because basically inside this method we need to call our client API, and inside our client API we need to make requests to the server, but these requests usually in Node.js environment are made in a synchronous way. But here, things should be done in the synchronous way. So somehow, we should made the creation of the component asynchronous. The secret is that thanks to the Redux Connect component. Here, this is it took from the API. Okay, here, Redux Connect. Okay, and then we pass all the render props of our application, and of course, the store. Then basically, we pass the status 200, and then we send all the our application rendering as a string to the client. That's all. This is all. But as you may see, the secret is here. React DOM render to string. This is the most powerful part of server-side rendering that allows us to pass to the client all our application, even though, for example, JavaScript is disabled, like as I said. Then the rest of the code is just some listen that runs the server and show to the console some message. That's all. This is the big part of server-side rendering. There are some questions? It's clear? What happens? We will, as I said, you will see this package, okay, in the next talk, and my colleague will talk about this package. But just bear in mind that the most important part of server-side rendering, as I said, and I will repeat again, is this line: React DOM.render to string. This is the most important part of server-side rendering. Then you can approach server-side rendering in different way, with different package and so on. But this is definitely the most important piece of our code. So if there are not questions, I can go ahead. Okay, it seems okay. So now that our application should be ready, okay, to be pushed in to the client, for example, to be used to the client, how we approach this problem to the STRV, how we can deliver our application. Here at the STRV, we love simplicity, because simplicity it's a great thing. If you make things very simple, okay, you probably will not have problems in the future. And we choose to deploy our application, the famous PaaS solution, Heroku. How many of you know Heroku? Okay, super. This is very so you know how much it's very easy to push code in live to be used very soon. Why we choose Heroku? As I said, for this advantage, very easy to use. Other advantage is I don't know. Yes, easier to scale. It's very easy to scale up. Just running new dyno, okay, with the one line of code of command from your terminal, you can run and you can add multiple dyno. Then you can scale up your application very easily. And then, of course, the full and great plugins out there that you can use. You can run a database, Postgres, MySQL, MongoDB, just in one click. You don't need to worry about configuration file, number of port, firewall, and whatsoever. It's super easy. But, you know, when you approach to this application and you need to deliver some content to the client, you cannot take your development branch, push to the live and ask to the client, okay, here is the works, you use it. Especially because it might be really, really dangerous. So our approach is just to separate our code in different branch, okay? Usually we use the branch develop, okay, to develop our application. And for example, Git. Here we use extremely Git. And here are the commands that we execute, for example, to run our application. The first command is very easy. We say, we need to install, of course, the Heroku toolbelt in your machine. But the first command is very easy. Heroku create, okay? It creates a remote branch in your machine, and then the name of your application. Bear in mind that the name of your application needs to be unique in your application. Then we create some environment variable. It's this is the most smartest way to use environment variable. Instead to hard code your configuration in your code, it's better to use not environment variable. For example, if we are in the development branch, we use develop, okay, and then specify the remote, okay, and then specify, for example, the database URL. If you want to push live your application using the development database, you will use the development URL database. You will not use the production one. And then the last command, very easy. Take the branch, okay, and push to and merge to the developer and push to Heroku. Very easy, super easy. You don't need to worry about anything. Then, of course, if your application works, you will see the result in less than a few minutes, according to the build time. But you know. Here I've talked about staging, about the development branch. But for example, if you want to see how your application looks like using real data, okay, we are used to use staging the branch. With the staging branch, we use, for example, we push our features to the staging branch, and using instead of use the development database, we use the production database, and there we define again remote staging, our Heroku application, made again unique. The name needs to be unique, so up_name_staging, but this needs to be the name of your application. And then again, we execute git push staging master, and we deliver the code to the Heroku. Very super easy. In this way, you can see live your features with the production database. And the last, again, the same. If you are really sure that your application works, your code works, and everything is working as you expected, you can push your application from staging to production. Again, you create, of course, the remote production, and then you create the application. But bear in mind that this first line needs to be created, need to be executed, of course, just once, not every time. I'm showing you this if you want to run this code for the first time. You don't need to run that line every time. You need to run this line, git push production master. Okay. That's all. This is what I wanted to tell you and how we approached the development of our application here at STRV. Very easy, because we care, we believe that if the simplicity is from our side, we will spend less time to figure out how things didn't work, and we can benefit of advantages to work and build better application. That's all from my side. If there are some questions, please do it, or otherwise feel free to stop me and ask.